All right, man. Growing up, what do you feel like was the conversation that your family had about college?
I'm Middle Eastern, dude. So the one thing that your parents expect from you in the Middle Eastern community and culture, especially being Assyrian like I am, is they'll sacrifice. They have sacrificed, me personally, but the majority of people that I know, your parents will sacrifice everything they got for you to go to get an education. So growing up, the conversation was, you got to go to college to be successful. That's like that's all I knew really. That was the conversation with your aunts, your uncles, your cousins. Everybody was expected to become a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, whatever. And I fell into one of those stereotypes, becoming, the engineer. But like that was what was pushed on you, because when you grow up in an Assyrian community like us, your parents give you everything you ever wanted. You don't have to pay for bills. You don't have to pay for electricity. You don't have to pay for rent. You don't have to pay for your clothes. You don't have to pay for the food. Your mom's going to cook for you, clean for you, everything. They take care of you completely. And all they want you to do is to focus on school, get a degree, and then get a really good paying job, because they take care of you your whole entire life, right? Up until the point where you become an adult. And then they expect, because they did it, that you use that degree that they sacrificed everything that they had for you to get, to one day use the job that you're going to get the degree with to then take care of them in their old age. So it's like a full circle thing, right? So there's a lot of pressure for Middle Eastern people in particular to go get that degree, because there's more expected out of them to use that degree versus like, I went to ASU, right? So there's a lot of American culture there, obviously all over America. I see a lot of people that are like, yeah, I want to get this degree for me so I can go buy this and that and live comfortably on my own, get my own apartment. It's not like that. There's a lot of other people that you're going to be carrying on your back in the community. So it's very, very high pressure to you get this degree, because it's not just you taking care of yourself, it's you taking care of the family you have now and then the future family you're going to have years down the road.
So definitely, I think you kind of hit on something big there, which is kind of your culture being Assyrian, that kind of Middle Eastern culture of looking out for your family. You feel like there was sort of a familial pressure to go to college.
Yeah, and what's funny also is that my dad didn't, and he's,
very, very successful, absolutely.
But he's the hardest working person ever. But the thing is, it's funny with entrepreneur types is that they say to their kids, go to college so you don't have to stress out like me. But then when you remove the entrepreneurial spirit from them, then you just fall in line of that 9 to 5, right?
Yeah. So I guess kind of where I want to take this is that's kind of what you were hearing with your family growing up. What do you remember kind of in school, like grade school, middle school, about college? Like what were the messages you were hearing? Is it something that was pushed?
Dude, I went to, so in Arizona, there's a school called Basis.
Right.
And there's a Basis in each major city in Arizona. I went to Basis Chandler. Right. And they were ranked #2 charter school in the nation. So all of America. So by the time, and I went to Basis at 7th grade, and I went there until my senior year. I graduated there with honors, barely, right? Barely. At the very least, I took 13 AP classes and like 12 honors classes, something like that, right? So like since 7th grade, what am I, 12 years old by then, to the time that I'm 17 where I graduated, the only means of success in that school with the 66 kids I graduated with was which college you're gonna go to and what's your GPA. Right. So like, and I grew up, and like, just to throw more stereotypes in, everybody in my group, I mean, like you would have been the minority in America, in the school. Yeah. Everybody there is either Middle Eastern, they come from Asian descent, or they're Indian or something like that. So those cultures and those families very highly respect people with credentials and degrees.
So let me ask you, was there, so obviously you're getting pressure at school, from these highly competitive kids and their families. Right. You're getting pressure from sort of your own family that college is the route that you should take. Was there sort of any conversation about, here's the kind of degree that you should get and here's the kind of degrees that you shouldn't get?
No, because that was the only thing that I could control in my upcoming to getting a degree. So going into college, I had a decision to make my senior year. I didn't want to be a doctor. I didn't want to be a lawyer. I wasn't good at anything except decent at math. So the only thing left was engineering for me. Right. Because I wanted to make money as soon as the 4 years was up. I knew for a fact I didn't want to go for 10 years to be a doctor. I didn't want to go the 8 years and then take a bar exam at the end of that to be a lawyer. I didn't want to do any of that. True. I went to college and I wanted to have something lined up for me as soon as I was done, and I wanted to make the most money as fast as I possibly can in the shortest amount of time of getting a degree. And that's why I chose engineering. And it just happened to line up with the quote-unquote stereotype of you being Middle Eastern being engineer, right? But like that was the best decision for me because math was my best suited quality for me to go and pursue a degree with, because like it's like 70% of what I need for my classes in college was all math-based.
Right.
So it just fit me well.
I think growing up kind of being the white kid, the standard middle-class white kid in America, conversation was a little bit different. I think there was definitely a sort of familial pressure to go and get that degree. I was born in 97, so I think, definitely parents that had kids kind of around that time, it was just kind of generally understood that parents should push their kid to go to college. College is the way to go, right?
Even up into like the early to mid 2000s. Right.
Yeah, it was kind of like the copy paste formula. Yeah. I guess one thing I would say is I obviously went to basis with you for a year or two. Yeah. And then I moved to Utah and ultimately went to just school up there, regular high school. And the conversation there was very much also this idea that I got from my family that as long as you get a degree, you'll be able to provide for yourself well. You'll live a good life.
Doesn't matter what the field was?
Right.
Okay.
So I guess the question that I kind of want to tackle with you today, obviously you've got a master's degree in engineering.
Yeah.
And I've got a bachelor's in communication with an emphasis in advertising and PR. Is kind of these two different walks of life is like, what is your opinion on the question, is college worth it?
College is only worth it if you have a plan going into college. And I'll explain, right? So what's the quickest way for a person to get in their debt in their early 20s? Not even early 20s, dude, 18, 19.
College, no question.
Right?
Yeah.
So what's the story sold to people, young people these days when you go to college? You go and you can go find yourself. You can go and find your community. You can go and have such a great time in your life. You drink every weekend. You party every weekend. You don't have to study. Join a sorority. Join a frat group. You joined a frat group. But look at your GPA. I'm just kidding. But like that's the story, right? That everyone sells. You can go and you can create yourself. People without a plan, they go there expecting the time of their lives, and then they figure out that the degree that they picked is actually not the field that they want to study. So then 1 or 2 years in, after they already paid half of their tuition, they go and they switch their degree or their major, and then they have to go and restart everything again, and they have to pay 1.5 times more than they would have if they had a plan going into college. So now you're stuck with an $80,000 debt, and then on top of that, you can't pay it because the job that you picked is shit, and you can't get a decent job with that. Now, let's say you have $80K in student loan debts, you can't pay it off, and you have the interest chipping away, increasing that overall debt on you for the rest of your life, and you can't pay it off. Now, on top of having a mortgage, when you get out of college, you have kids and all this stuff, you have so much responsibility. And so my point is, essentially, if you have a plan going into college, it is worth it. Right. If you don't, you will be buried in debt and you will be stuck alone.
I hear what you're saying. I guess I have a different view as somebody who's trying to tackle marketing outside of college. I think having a plan in 2022 is not enough, plain and simple. I think a plan is very important, and I think it's an important part of it. But what I would say is there are certain degrees that the cost-benefit analysis is worth going for. There are certain degrees where it's gonna cost you $50K, but for the rest of your life, you're gonna put up $100K a year plus.
Yeah,
that's a good value proposition,
right?
Right. But I think even if
that's a plan though, right?
Right. Even if I have a plan though that I'm gonna go and I'm gonna get XYZ degree, I'm gonna go and get a degree in exercise science, right? the cost benefit analysis may not be there unless you're going to be, you know, some sort of like exercise kinesthesiologist doctor, right?
Yeah.
So I think more than just a plan, you've got to be honest about the cost benefit analysis. Is this a really good ROI on my investment? And,
right.
And I think that's the conversation that people aren't having is college is an investment. Do you want to pick the thing that's going to get you maybe a slight return and waste 4 years of your life?
Yeah.
Not waste, but you spend 4 years of your life to get this small return. Right. Or do you want to spend 8 years and get a huge return?
Right, yeah. And that's why I chose engineering, because I already was tech savvy by the time that I was 10, and probably we all were this generation, right? So I was like, Moore's Law, every 2 years, the power of technology doubles. So I was like, okay, it's just obvious that in the next 10 to 20 years, everything is going to be reliant on technology.
No question.
So I was like, engineering is the best field to go to, because regardless of what company you're going to go for, there's always going to be work available. And then that's another thing too, is you can't be delusional picking a degree, because it's like, you can tell yourself you can be successful by getting a gender studies degree, right? Are you going to be successful? You can't be delusional while making decisions, which is also the same thing as picking.
To what you're saying, you're saying delusional, but I think emotion is the key to what you're saying. Is if you're picking something purely out of emotion, I love underwater basket weaving.
Right.
How many underwater basket weaving jobs are out there?
That's delusion. You're being delusional by your options.
Right.
So what I'm saying is that when you can judge without emotion what you want to do and the circumstances of life, then you can make the best decisions for yourself. But here's the thing. You're going to have to do things that you don't like.
No
and
question.
that's what,
no question.
But here's the thing. People pick stuff expecting to only do things that they like.
Yeah.
Which is why they jump ship as soon as stuff gets hard. Which is why people don't finish degrees. Half the engineering class that I was with my freshman year when I was 17 years old, they were probably like between, the average age was like 20 to 25. So like, let's just 23 years old is the average age of that class. By the third week of that semester, I remember half the class dropped out.
To bounce off what you're saying, one thing that I tell a lot of my friends that are, you know, between the ages of maybe like 17, 19, they're kind of thinking about college or they're early in college. Yeah. And they're talking to me about it, you know, like, oh, this class is BS. I always tell them, I was like, you know, I think one of the worst things that you can do if you're not 100% sure on what you're going to do and you're not willing to commit to it no matter what. So what you're saying, there's always going to be that work that you hate. And I always tell my young friends, is like, hey, what you should do instead of just starting a degree and you start spending money is you should go and you should get with a professional in the field and actually ask them, sit down with somebody, right? Network and say, hey, what is it actually like to be an engineer? What is your day-to-day life like? What kind of work do you have? Do you mind if I mirror you for a day? Can you actually show me your work?
I'll press back on that because, okay, I'm an engineer now, right?
Right.
I didn't know a single engineer in college.
So that would be one of those things where you gotta reach out to people. You gotta find out.
Okay, it's on you to be proactive.
With the internet, you can find information on any career you want. You just gotta Google it.
Right.
You'll find somebody on YouTube that'll tell you what the job is like.
But how realistic will it be for a 16, 17-year-old to be proactive with the internet versus playing video games?
No, absolutely. We're talking about what should you do to make college worth it. And is college worth it?
Sure. But essentially what I'm saying is that me being an engineer now, and like let's say a person wanted to be an engineer, I can't just bring them into work.
But you can bring them into your work world with the conversation and explain, give more, sort of enlighten them to what that's like. And I think even if you don't have anybody in your inner circle, you know, that necessarily, let's use the example of marketing, something I'm closer with, you know. Even if you don't have anybody in your personal circle that markets at a high level, dude, you can hop on YouTube and you can say, you know, like, what is Instagram marketing like? What is Facebook marketing like?
You can virtually find whatever you want with the internet today. I completely agree with that. Yeah, you can definitely be proactive with what you want to find out. But bringing it back to college, how useful has your degree been? And let me add something else to that question too. You got it a year ago, right? About a year ago?
Yeah.
Okay. How old were you when you graduated?
24.
So you got a degree in communications at 24 and it's been a year. What have you been doing this past year and how's that degree helped you since you graduated? Now you're 25.
Yeah, I'll just kind of bust it down like this. Is my first, I got a 4-year degree and it took me 6 years, right? Okay. It wasn't really a monetary issue as much as what we talked about, which is going into college and trying to kind of realized what do I want to do. I went in thinking I wanted a business degree and realized, 1 or 2 years in, like, I don't know what I want. So I slowed things down and figured it out. Like you said, maybe spent more money than I should have if I would have had a game plan coming in, a clear picture.
Did you change your degree?
Yes.
Oh, you did change your degree.
Yeah, so I went from business degree, business administration, to communication.
How late into it did you switch?
Probably my sophomore year, I think.
So, okay, about 2 years in.
Yeah.
How much money do you think you lost because of that switch?
No question, over $10,000.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that about you. That's crazy.
Yeah.
$10,000 extra dollars.
To what you're kind of asking though is like, that degree and what have you done outside of college? I just want to touch on this because I think it's a great point. I got a degree in public relations and advertising. Okay. Basically communicating for a company to get them more sales or to enhance their perception to get them more sales, right? You think about it. Basically, what is my job? It's to make an organization look better, feel better.
Get eyes on them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And in school, even though my degree says advertising in the emphasis, we never set up a single ads campaign. Never set up a single ads campaign. Never worked with any real companies to figure stuff out.
So you didn't have any real experience.
Right. So what I've done outside of college this first year is I've done my own thing. I grew an Instagram account. People on my channel know, but it's over 30,000 followers.
Yeah, you actually have 2 big Instagram accounts that you grew yourself. You have Trap Theory 101, Trap Theory 202.
That one I acquired.
Right, but still, it's a bigger page.
Yeah.
And it's branded off. And then you're running the Lazy Intellectuals page, which you grew to 1,500 followers in like 6-7 months, something like that.
Yeah.
So you've been using what you've learned theoretically in college, and now you spent 1 year learning technically real life examples, and you've been applying the theoretical with the actual.
Yeah, one thing I want to say, the one thing I maybe want to push back on or correct is I wouldn't say I applied anything that I learned in college this last year.
Oh, nothing.
No, nothing. The college I went to wasn't like a top tier Ivy League school, but it was a pretty like mid school, like a decent school. And I would genuinely say there have been maybe 1 or 2 times where something I learned in school has actually positively impacted me in trying to grow social media accounts. Let me say this too. I remember telling my professor at Weber State University in the comm department that, hey, why are we spending all this time doing press releases and news releases? Basically, what a company puts out to make a statement about a new product, service, something that they're trying to change, right? Okay. So why are we putting out these pieces of paper in hopes that news media outlets are going to pick up these papers when that's not the direction that media is taking? I said, why are we not learning how to market on social media? She said, because, social media, learning how to market on social media, that's not as big of a deal. What you want to do is you want to be able to get free press from these outlets. And
so they didn't even talk about Google ads or Facebook ads?
Zero.
None?
No. And so here's what I want to say. To that professor, right? In her mind, it would have been dope if I would have got picked up by, a couple publications locally in the area for my company. That would have been a win. On social media, there have been months where I've gotten in front of over 60 million people in a single month.
And let me ask you this. How much work experience did that teacher probably have? Did she ever share that with you? You don't know?
Don't know.
My experience is that the majority of teachers today that are teaching never actually have done anything with their teaching.
Agreed, yeah. Probably.
They just got the degree to teach it back to other people.
Yeah.
They're just regurgitating what they learned again, and then they mix in. And the majority of the teachers, just to go on this tangent, cheat. And they copy slides from other teachers online. So like it's typical where if you're like a student and you want to figure out a question really quickly, you just copy that link or like the PowerPoint slide and then you look up like a sentence in it and all of a sudden the whole freaking thing pops up, the whole PowerPoint pops up on Google.
And let me ask you, what happens to you as a student if you copy and paste somebody else's?
Oh, you get hit hard with a mark that's saying you plagiarized, and then you get either kicked out or you fail that class and they put something on your resume or your transcript that says you cheated, and you can never get that removed.
And when professors do it, they get a paycheck, right?
They get a paycheck. But the majority of professors also that I learned are only professors to get access to the research funding and resources that colleges get. So professors are there to research. They only pick up one class so that universities can fund their research for their own, whether they want to publish a book or something. They want to join a committee or a different board of somewhere else. So they're not fully invested into teaching the kid.
Yeah, no, I've noticed that too. Or a lot of times you'll get kind of like, I think they're called adjunct professors, like lower level professors that are actually interacting with students. And it's like, well, then why am I paying the salary of this person over here to make $80K, $90K a year when they're not actively teaching each class?
Yeah,
what
and then
am I doing?
That kind of goes into the importance of getting a scholarship. So did you have a scholarship going into college?
No, none.
Okay.
No grants either.
No grants.
No grants, all out of pocket.
Interesting. I was a bit opposite. I never even attempted to get a scholarship. Did you attempt to get scholarships?
Couple.
I didn't even attempt to get one.
You just decided you wanted to walk out of pocket?
The way that it worked with me was for my master's degree, I was like, screw it. I just did the payment options and I just paid monthly instead of my tuition all at once. I was like, that was just the way that I decided to go about it my last year in my master's program.
That definitely, if you can get, I think, if you can get scholarships or you get even your whole degree paid for, I mean, that changes the whole conversation and the ROI, right?
Our buddy Grayson, he got a computer science degree. Me and him work in the same group at Intel. I know what he's making, really freaking good money.
Yeah.
And he got paid to go to college.
Wait, he got paid to go to college?
His scholarship was more money than his tuition.
See, and that, once again, investment in ROI. If you get paid to hold a Bitcoin, are you going to hold a Bitcoin? If somebody says $500, please take this Bitcoin.
Right. So he got paid to go to college, and then he is in a very good position, making very good money for a 23-year-old kid, where he has no debt.
Yeah.
No student loan debt.
And that's
the optimal plan that you can make as a student. So when you say, is college worth it? College is only worth it if you go in with a plan, if you take opportunities, if you take advantage of the opportunities before you. And then if you go out with networking skills here's one thing that I will tell everybody to do, regardless who you are or where you're from. You have to get an internship somewhere.
Yeah.
The only reason people are successful in college is because they made those connections and they get hired right off the spot. The most optimal thing that a college student can do, regardless of what the degree is, get out of college without any tuition left over for you to pay for the rest of your life, accruing interest, have a job ready to go.
I think that's one way that I would say I definitely kind of fumbled in college is my internship was very much an afterthought. It was something that I kind of got last minute, and I learned some things from it, but I'll give you an example. We learned nothing about Instagram in school, nothing about social media. I ran, in my internship, social media for a company where a woman knew nothing about social media. That's why she hired me, right? So
here's the thing with that.
In my internship, my results on social media were abysmal. When I spent time myself learning it, it's like my page skyrocketed.
Right, but here's the thing with that. You're working for someone who couldn't teach you anything, which is why the quality of the internship is just as important as well.
Yes.
When I was 19 years old, God granted me an amazing opportunity. I actually had help with people in my church. They pushed my resume through. They knew somebody there. So God, he lined up the path for me, right? I got into an internship at Intel at 19 years old. I actually would have gotten it at 18, but I was too young. I was a sophomore. They wanted people that were junior and up. So I actually got it on my own when I was 18, but they didn't want me. They said, we can't hire you. You're too unadvanced in your collegiate career. So I was like, okay, whatever. A year later, or a semester later, they were like, I re-pushed my resume through and then I got it. The point I'm saying is that I was so young and I was surrounded by senior executive engineers.
You networked.
They taught me so much.
Yeah.
So you were in a position where you had an internship. Were you paid?
No.
Okay.
Right. And hold on, that's one thing I want to say. So you're making a great point. If you can find an internship that's actually going to teach you and help you to build connections, absolutely worth it. One thing that I want to say is you talked about college and having a game plan. Not all degrees are created equally, right? Like some degrees are just going to pay better.
Yeah.
It is not uncommon if you have a communication or a business degree for your internships to not pay or to be very low pay.
Okay.
So with engineering, you guys, it's probably pretty common that you guys get paid for your internships.
Oh yeah, it was paid.
So I listened to another marketer online. I don't want to say who, but he was talking about how part of his business model is actually hiring interns, and he was basically rejoicing in the fact that they're free. It's a free asset for his business. So that goes back to the ROI is not the same on each degree. In marketing, you're gonna get screwed to a degree in the beginning. You're not gonna get paid. And I guess one thing I'd like to ask you, and maybe we can kind of fly through this, what degrees are worth getting? What degrees have that ROI that's worth going towards?
Okay, like I said beginning, people who go into college expecting to do the things that they love, right? And then that means that as soon as they come with some form of adversity, they kind of jump ship. That isn't always true, because those people that I was referring to is like gender studies, Native American, Indian, dance, whatever the hell, right? Yeah. Those useless degrees, those stupid ones. People who have a genuine love for other people who want to help them. I have a few friends that are doctors now, right? They genuinely want to help people. They love helping people. They want to cure people's. I have a friend, Solomon. He wants to be a person who cures cancer. Like, he wants to find the cure for cancer, right? So, and then now he's on that path, and he genuinely loves it. And he tells me how freaking ridiculously stressful it is, and all the things that he has to do. And I'm like, I would have blown my brains out way long, like 2 months in.
Right.
But like, I was able to stick out engineering because that was what I wanted to do.
You're saying everything is not for everybody.
You have to have the personality and the passion to pursue what you want to do. That's worth it for some people. So some people have
hold on. If you've got the financial means to chase something that you love,
a lot of people don't have the financial means. They take out these loans.
Agreed. If you have the financial means to chase something you love, go for it. At that point, you're just getting a degree out of passion. If that's your thing, then go for it.
Yeah.
But when we're talking about ROI, like you're saying, there's definitely that factor, like you mentioned with, your buddy and what he does, and you couldn't do it. Like you have to pick something that your brain is at least okay with. It can't be something that you hate every day and you spend the next 60 years of your life struggling with it. You hate your job. Like, no question, that's not the route to go. But for people, maybe can we outline some of the degrees that in your experience you think are probably worth getting based on people you've known and have talked to in college?
Okay.
I think law school.
The only ones that I can speak on, that I'm educated about, is engineering. That's all I know. Everything else, I don't. I'll be speaking out of my ass if I was, because I didn't go get a law degree. I didn't go become a doctor. I can't talk on that. What I will tell you is that if you have a mathematical based understanding and like a math mind, you can be very successful in engineering. Doesn't mean that you're gonna have a passion for it, and doesn't mean you're gonna love it. For me, for example, I was miserable my last year in college. I mean, you can remember.
Yeah, no doubt. Same, actually.
I hated every minute of it. I just wanted to work. I just wanted to work at where I was at Intel, and I love my job, and I'm getting better at it, right? The school was so useless because I already had a taste of industry, and I knew everything that I was learning right now would have nothing to do with my position that I was going to be in. So I found it such a waste of time and useless. And when you find things a waste of time, you become frustrated by them. And when you become frustrated by them, you don't want to do them. They're a burden to you. So then you lose a bit of what you had, or a lot of what you had in the beginning of your college degree when you started so motivated. For me, man, I had a 4.0 my first 2 years of college, right? Same degree. Now I'm in my master's.
And
And now, I graduated with 3.5, but at one point it went down to like a 3.01. So I went from a 4.0 full drop to like a 3.01, and then I got my shit back together. I got back to a 3.5. But it was that dip. I didn't want to do anything anymore because I knew what the industry demanded, and I knew college was just wasting my time and money. So it was frustrating for me because I felt like I was stuck in a position where things wouldn't end. I had to do useless busy work. I had to do study for tests that I will never use any of this stuff. I will never use transforms and modeling in my life for what I'm doing right now. And that was the most frustrating. I got a 48% on the final in that class. That was the one class I had a final in my master's degree a few months back, or a month back. And I was tripping. I thought I was gonna fail and not get my degree, but he curved it and I'm very good. But my point is that the quality of the work that you're doing, you're going to run into things that you're going to hate. It'll be worth it to stick it through.
Once again, I have to say that depends on what you're doing. I agree with you in, similar circumstances with my degree. Getting towards the end, I was like, man, I know that the stuff they're teaching me is not the marketing I'm actually going to use. Like the example I gave, right? Mm-hmm. A news release, nobody's going to use in 40 years. Are people going to, do stuff with social media, so to speak, in 40 years? Who knows? Maybe it'll be, metaverse VR. Who knows?
Yeah.
I think there are certain degrees that I would absolutely recommend. If you have a lot of interest in that and you can actually get with somebody, what the work's going to be like. You can listen online to what the work is actually like. Mm-hmm. Being a doctor a lot of times makes financial sense. You have to look at your own ROI, your own return on investment for that. A lot of times being a lawyer makes sense. Almost 100% of the time being an engineer makes financial sense. Now with marketing and business, which is something that I can very directly speak to, I think I would advise a lot of young people is before you jump into college, if you're 18, 19, 20, these people are not going to teach you how to go viral on social media. They're not going to teach you how to run social media for clients, which is really what a lot of modern marketing is, right? Mm-hmm. They're not going to teach you how to do that because if they knew how to do that, that would be a higher paying skill than working at a university. And that's the hard part is I'm going to say it. I'm going to take a sledgehammer to it, so to speak. I think the business and marketing sort of communication field in school, biggest waste. I think those three could almost be cut from the university system altogether, or it needs to be reformed drastically. I think you should oftentimes look at whatever degree you're getting and ask yourself, my professor, why would they be teaching this course?
Yeah.
If it's something like
they have to
sociology or something, there could be the chance, and I'm not trying to be derogatory towards sociology, but there could be the chance that actually being a professor and reteaching sociology is going to be the highest paycheck or the easiest type of employment for somebody with that degree.
Right. But also, man,
that's why mentors are so important, and that's something that you taught me.
Yeah. But my mentors have nothing to do with my college decisions.
No, they were no question.
It was a completely different.
No question. But where I'm talking to a business audience, I think talking to business and marketing people, mentors are far more important than professors.
Right. But what I'm saying is that you can get a mentor in any field or any part of your life. Like you should have a mentor for how to become more philosophically driven. So you should have a mentor to teach you how to be less angry. You should have a mentor
for the gym.
Gym buddy. That could be a mentor. Like if me and you worked out right now, I showed you a new move. I'm technically mentoring you, right? So it's like you should have a mentor for every aspect of your life.
Couldn't agree more.
The one mentor I didn't get was in college. I didn't get a mentor in college. I just had people, my peers were around me. I would just work with them. Like I guess my closest thing to a mentor was just like my friends in college that were going through the same things that I was. They were the only people that knew how to experience my pain because they were experiencing the same pain, right?
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to ask you, do you think overall you could have just skipped those 4 years or 6 years technically total because you switched your degree? You could have just skipped college and still be in the same position you are in today?
Yeah. So my parents, wanted me to go to school. That's a huge part of the reason I did. My dad passed away when I was 15 and he wanted me to go. And I told my mom the other day, I said, I'm going to be honest with you, Mom, if I had this to do over, I think I would have respectfully declined and not gone to college. I spent, in those 6 years, my net worth decreased by, there was about $40K in college bills. I got out light. I know I got off easy. A lot of people have worse than that. But I thought about it and I was like, yo, look at what I did with my social media with basically no budget.
Yep.
Took that Instagram to 30K, right?
Yep.
My YouTube channel is not popping by any means, but like I'm learning a lot about video editing and SEO and all these things. Amazon. Mm-hmm. That's something I did outside of college, was learning how to SEO for Amazon, how to do supply chain management, and how to basically like, how do I private label a product? How do I market it? How do I sell it?
So I'm sorry. So essentially college, none of that.
None of that. Right. If I had taken that money and actually applied it to learning that, like, oh, let me take $1,000 course from somebody that knows how to do it.
Courses.
Right.
Instead of Okay. So, So you, I guess you're a Middle Eastern man. You had that family pressure on you back. So you're an honorary Assyrian today. But here's the thing. Do you recommend people going into the field that you did in college?
That's a tough one. It's
communications in general.
Yeah.
Because I will tell you this before you answer. There is a person here in my neighborhood who owns and runs a laundromat. Okay? It's popping. Okay? I spill a lot of soda on my shirt. I go there a lot. I asked him, I was like, man, what did you get your degree in? And he told me communications.
Right.
And I was like, that's very strange. This has nothing to do with communications. He's like, I'm like, do you use it every day? And he goes, I use it every day. I use it every day. And I go, why? How? He goes, I'm communicating with people every single day.
Yeah.
And I go, that's interesting. That might have something to do with it, but it does nothing to do with you making my shirts clean, right?
Yeah.
So with that in mind, and with your position you are in life, do you recommend communications or no? As a major?
I would tend to say no.
Okay. Because of personal,
to most people.
Personal experience.
And here's why. You do learn great sort of aspects of communication, like public speaking was a great class. That's actually a class that I think everybody should take in college.
Public speaking, yeah, absolutely.
That's a skill that is incredibly important in the business world.
Yeah.
And even outside of that.
Right.
You know, you're in church, you know, you got to say some kind words at a funeral. You use it in so many aspects of your life. Generally speaking, though, when we talk about ROI, is the return going to be worth the investment? I would argue no. And one thing that I want to return to is this idea. Why is your teacher teaching you? Is that the best job that they could get with their skill set, right? Think about, you know, like social media marketing or whatever. That's something where you can, if you're really good at it, you can run up over 6 figures, millions. If you can blow up social medias, no question. So why is my teacher teaching this? Probably because they don't actually know. They only understand the theories behind.
Also look at the age
marketing
difference. Typically the professor is between ages 40 to 70?
And social media is so new.
Yeah. How do they don't have experience with that. Also, you have to ask yourself this: not only why are they teaching what they're teaching? Because it's like, did the school tell you have to touch this specific topic, or is it because this is probably you're going to run into this in the field? Because some things you got to fill in space. There was so many times where I was sitting in class learning about stuff that has absolutely nothing to do with engineering, but they had to fill in the dead space and then test you on it. For no reason. Just because they needed to fill in the space.
I'm going to say something radical here really quick.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I think there are certain inefficiencies in the college system, kind of to what you kind of touched on it there, that I don't think college is going to be the future of education at all. I think college's days are numbered,
I agree
even for engineers. And I think here's why. Think about it from a very common sense perspective. Collective resources as humans, we only have so much time, so much this and that. There's how many universities in the United States? Tens of thousands?
Oh,
or thousands?
Okay,
let's say thousands.
Okay.
You've got then thousands of professors teaching things like, let's just give the example of engineering, okay? Make it easy. Now, let's say, you know, we get super hyper specific, we'll get to electrical engineering. How many of those professors are actually the top 10 professors in the world? 10. But there's thousands of universities, correct?
Yeah.
So with the power of the internet, why do we have all these sort of subpar teachers that are not that high caliber teaching stuff when we could have them record these lectures and spread it across the United States?
For free.
And we learned with Zoom calls during COVID
you can do this.
That you can do this.
But you could do this before look at people like Patrick Bet-David or Andy Frisella or Gary Vee. Yeah. They've been putting out free game
for years.
The beginning of YouTube.
Yeah.
Right? 2007, whatever, 2008. They've been like, and then, so also, here's this. Why don't the top tier professors record everything and everyone just learns from them if they're so better than everybody else? What's the point of hiring anybody else?
That's what I'm saying. You could charge less of each student because now you're going to have a broader scope of students.
Yeah.
And you're going to get a lot of those like professors that are just not competitively at the top of the game out of there. You're going to increase the quality of education, decrease the price, instead of just propping up all of these universities that, let's be fair, maybe instead of, you know, everybody getting these mid-educations across the United States, we should have fewer universities where you can get a higher quality education. And there's dangers with that, and, you know, kind of like groupthink. If you only have, you know, 10 voices on a given subject, it becomes harder to sort of pioneer and change thought.
But it's already groupthink because instead of just having 10 people, it's like the majority of people.
Yeah. Dude, how much waste happens with universities and their faculty and stuff to where the price is as high as it is? How much money do we think
for
is
useless crap?
Yes.
Yeah. Like I got $100. I was looking at my tuition breakdown. I was being charged $100 a month for Wi-Fi during 2020.
You're at home in COVID.
During COVID, they were charging me a Wi-Fi fee when the campuses were shut down, bro.
Dude.
I was like, all right, $100. My tuition is in the tens of thousands. What's $100? Here, like here, take it. $100, gone. What is that to me on top of the tens of thousands you've already taken? But I'm like, it adds up, obviously.
Yes. Well, let me ask you this: how much is it if you buy Wi-Fi for your entire family at home?
I don't know. My dad pays it, like I told you.
About $100.
Is it? I'm out of touch.
So why are you charging each student $100?
Because I can. It's a business model.
Exactly.
But here's the thing too. You also got to pay for parking on top of that. You also got to pay for food, and then even if you don't work out, even if you hate exercising, you got to pay the gym fee.
Yeah. Even if you don't use it, there's so many things like that.
And you don't even have an option to opt out of it.
We're paying for the sports fields that are pulling in money for the university that they don't have to pay taxes on because they're tax
I didn't go to
exempt.
one game in my whole collegiate career.
Same.
A girl came up to me one time and she was like, "Oh, whenever you're in town, we'll go to," because it was like a rivalry between Arizona State and another California state with their football teams, and she's like, "We'll go there and like we'll have a great time being rivals." I was like, I've never once in my life went to a college football game.
Not to mention, I mean, when do you have the time for all that fun stuff that they advertise? Only if you're extending your degree out farther than it needs to be. I mean,
I mean, it's cool to be involved in that stuff, but it's just, I thought it was not worth my time because I had, like I told you, a plan going into it. If you go into college filling it with fun and the idea of you're only going to have the best time of your life, it's going to be a movie, you're going to go make the best of friends, you're going to go to all these parties, you're going to go to all these events, you're going to get to socialize with the athletes and the cheerleaders and stuff like this. Like, you think it's literally the movies. You are going to be in crippling debt with no future lined up for you. Maybe I'm completely wrong and someone's going to luck out and be like, "Ha, Emmanuel, you're stupid. You know what you're talking about. I had the best college experience. It was the best time of my life. Suck it."
Yeah, I'll push back on what you're saying a little bit.
That's the exception to the rule. That is not the rule.
I'll push back on what you're saying a little bit. I think it's important to have a little bit of fun in college, even if you're doing that off campus.
No, I'm saying if you base your whole college career off of that, like the majority of people do, you will fail.
It's moderation.
Yeah.
That's the name of the game. If you're too about business in college, you're going to burn out. I think we can agree on that. If you're only ever in your classes, there's a high likelihood you're going to burn out, especially if you're going for anything, longer than a bachelor's degree. At the same time, if you're only there for fun, they're going to be happy.
Yeah.
Come enjoy all of our facilities. You can join these clubs. You can join these organizations. You're going to spend all your time here. Oh, it's okay that college is taking 5, 6, 7, 8 years. No, you're fine. You're fine. You'll get out there. You'll make some money. Before you know it, you've racked up all this debt or you've paid them all this money.
You were in a frat, though.
Yeah.
You were the president of a fraternity.
Yeah.
How was that experience? Was it worth it? Was that the best part of college for you? Talk about it.
Yeah, I was just about to get there, actually. In my experience, if you're at that point in college where you're like burnt out, man, you're like, I don't know what I'm gonna do, or I'm burnt out, I want to drop out. You're kind of at a crossroads. I actually think at that point it's worth it to try and join an organization, to try and do something like that. Because for me, in my experience, I wasn't doing any of the college kind of life stuff. I wasn't like joining any clubs. I wasn't spending any time after school. I was just in and out, completely business.
Me too.
When I was trying to change my degree, around that same time, I was really, really highly considering dropping out. I was like, dude, I'm tapped out on this. I don't know what I want to do, but I don't want to keep spending money.
How old were you at the time?
Probably 20.
Oh, okay.
So I joined a fraternity, kind of thinking like, I vetted it and everything first, whatever. It was like trying to see if it was for me, but.
You were in a frat for 4 years?
Yeah.
Oh.
I was social media chair, vice president. That actually helped me to stay in school. As weird as that sounds.
Well, hold on. Let me press back on that. Because you said that if you could have done it differently, if it wasn't for your parents, you would have dropped out.
Yeah.
So maybe being in a frat wasn't the best option because this is what I mean.
You're saying maybe I would have dropped out and saved the money.
That, and you could have made more useful use of your time.
Outside of school, you're saying?
You're saying a fraternity was the reason you didn't drop out of college, and probably that was one of the things that you looked forward to, right?
Yeah.
How many people are like that today the same exact way as you, except that's all they care about. And they don't really care about the degrees. And they're still building up debt on top of that because they're still in classes just to stay in the fraternity so they can have fun.
In my experience, I would say with the fraternity, you probably get like, it's probably half and half. Half of the guys are in there to have a good time on the side, business, get out. And then the other half is probably like, you know, they're kind of dicking around, they're having a good time, they want to hang out with the boys all the time.
Yeah.
I'd say it's pretty split.
Okay. You were on the other half.
For me, it got me through college, which is something that at the time I really wanted to do, accomplish for my parents. And here's the thing is when you're on campus and you're all business all the time, you're getting tired out, whatever, your perception sucks. When you've got friends, so at least like you've got those little like highlights throughout the day, like, oh, what's up, bro? You know,
right.
Talk to somebody, you have somebody to, you know, kind of eat lunch with or whatever, you're not just in and out.
Yeah.
It brightens up your day in a way that's like...
You're social with people. You get to also relate to them because they're in the same position as you. They're people your age, so you can have conversations about things that you could relate to, that people that are 25 go through or whatever, 24 that go through whatever. And you also have people that you'll suffer with and also that will overcome adversity with too, like having a tribe. That's one of the most important things that human beings naturally do is they put themselves, if you were to separate everybody right now and said that everybody, you're on your own, people will naturally start teaming up together. It is human nature.
Yeah.
So they can succeed and so they can build bigger empires.
No question.
So you guys were doing that, but it was just in a different structured way. Were you guys partiers, heavy partiers?
No. I mean, look, anytime you join an organization, you got a bunch of individuals, right? So you've got guys that were heavy partiers, yeah, but for me personally, I never drank at all in college. I still don't.
Yeah. You being as a president versus you being just a regular member of the fraternity, how was that different? Which one was better and why?
Definitely, I mean...
You became cooler. You became less of a nerd before that, after you became president. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, no, real talk. You talk about college and trying to get experiences out of it. I think that's one of the things that college suffers with is not delivering experiences. Becoming vice president and then president of a fraternity was very much... being a president, you definitely have to more kind of like throw your weight around and lead as a dude. You gotta learn how to.
It actually taught you how to be a man.
To a degree, yeah. I think being at the lower level in the fraternity, that's where like a lot of the guys that love the party, like you mentioned, whatever. Yeah, when you take on a high level in a fraternity, and a lot of people don't recognize this, there's actually a lot of work that goes into it. There's like being president. It was damn near a full-time job. I mean, I think it was probably like 25 hours a week, 30 hours a week that I was very focused on. Okay, what do we got coming up? Meeting, got to make sure people are coming, got to make sure everyone's in order, like got to make sure that, if anyone's got, any stress or whatever, that we're figuring that out, helping them. It really is almost like executive light. Like you're learning how to like
be CEO,
how to lead an organization at a low level with low stakes, right? So from that perspective, if you can join a fraternity or a sorority and turn it into an experience that's actually beneficial to you. Yeah. Dude, Greek life, we talked about this all the time. It's just like junior politics. That's really what it is.
Because you got to also deal with the people that are managing the frats, saying like the limitations that they give on you.
Absolutely.
Also the politics with the other sororities that you have to do parties with or fundraisers with, or the other fraternities that you're rivals with. There's a lot of politics and bureaucracy in that, right?
Yeah, no doubt. You got to manage relationships. You got to make sure.
And then people are so egotistical at this age too, where everyone's thinking that they're top dog.
Definitely egos.
Women's looks are peak. I think research showed that 23 years old, that's prime time for sorority. So you got to deal with people who think that they're top of the list versus people who, are average looking dudes.
Yeah, I'm gonna just throw this out here for all the young dudes. Don't mess with sorority girls. Period.
That was actually so something I told my brother going into college. I told him.
Good advice.
I told him, don't go to college to flirt.
Yeah. No. Period. End of sentence.
That's something that I stand by today. Do not go and flirt with your fellow students. There's so many problems with that.
Yeah.
So many, because not only does it make it an environment where you're not there to learn anymore, now it's a place where you're just focused on spitting game. Now it's a place that's distracting you from your actual goals. So now you can have the greatest plan in the world, like how I talked about in the beginning of this conversation, right? But ultimately the things that bring down a man who's building is a woman. The wrong woman. The wrong woman.
Yeah.
The distraction women. girls. There's like Patrick Bet-David said like the 3Gs. It was like the 3Gs that destroy a man. It's like greed, gluttony, and girls. It might have been 4Gs. I'm forgetting the fourth one, but girls was on. And so when you're fully distracted about women, you lose your wits and your motivation for school works. Versus if you have that one good girl and you're in school, then like you could use her as mentally like you're gonna transcend that energy to, you know, like when you're feeling down. Oh, I feel like I'm gonna fail this exam. Wait, I gotta provide. I want one day to provide for her and you know, our future family. I'm gonna go extra hard and win for her, right? So it's not just about you anymore. And that one girl can motivate you, make you better. Versus if you're just a dog running through all these girls. And that's why I didn't go to the Tempe campus at ASU, because it's ridiculous. If I went there, I would have failed my first year, 1,000%. I purposely put myself in the nerdy campus. Polytechnic is a ghost town. And I went there on purpose so I could focus solely on that. The majority of people there are men, and the women there, women chose to go to Tempe more than Poly for that reason, because they want to be sought after.
Yeah.
So there was it was ridiculous. So my advice to guys that are going into college, you think it's going to be a movie, you don't have a plan, develop a plan, figure out the best, like the things that you can leverage best about you that you're good at,
your interests
and your talents. Base your decisions off of what you can do. Figure out what you want to do after the degree. Figure out a way to be able to pay off the debt that you're gonna owe. Because listen, debt sucks. The tuition sucks. You take out a debt, that's on you to pay back.
Yeah.
Not the government, not anybody. You got a scholarship that pays that for you, that's great.
You can't even with, student loans, you can't even get out of it with bankruptcy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's with you for the rest of your life.
With you.
So you go into college, you better have a way to pay that back, or that will follow you the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So you need a plan, figure out where you want to go after college, figure out how to pay back that debt.
And let me add this.
And if you're a guy, hold on, don't get distracted by women.
And you have to be ROI positive. It's part of the game plan, part of what you're talking about. You got to make sure that whatever degree you pick, is this a place where I can actually move up in the ranks? Is this a place where I can make the money that's worth it? Is this a place where for the next 20 years, I'll be able to comfortably take care of my family, whoever that is, however many kids I have?
Yeah.
Just got to be smart about it.